Okay, you're very welcome, Patrick, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Thanks, Amanda. That's a very kind introduction. So you've mentioned me and you've mentioned my teacher, Mr. Goenka. I hope I can do him justice. And the talk is about Vipassana. As you know, Vipassana, an old Indian word. Pasana means to look or to see, and Vipassana means to observe. Short translation is insight. And it was rediscovered in ancient India centuries back, 25 centuries back, and then preserved and taught by a whole chain of teachers over that very, very long period, initially in Asia, India, of course, later Burma. And perhaps the latest leading teacher in that long line was Mr. Goenka himself, who was my teacher. And I'd like to start by introducing you to him by playing a short video clip of his address, one of his addresses. He's passed away now. He passed away in 2013. This was recorded in the year 2000, and he's addressing the United Nations. They had a big millennial conference in the year 2000 for all the religious leaders around the world, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, everybody. And here he is addressing them. I'll just play a few minutes of it.
Friends, leaders of the human spiritual world, leaders of the human religious world, we thank the organizers that such a wonderful occasion is here, where we all can unite and serve the humanity. Religion is religion only when it unites. Religion is no more religion when it divides. Religion is not for dividing people, it is for uniting people. So much has been said about conversion, for conversion and against conversion. I am for conversion. I am not against conversion. But conversion not from one organized religion to another organized religion. No. Conversion from misery to happiness. Conversion from bondage to liberation. Conversion from cruelty to compassion. That is the conversion needed today. And that is what this organization should make a point to implement. Our ancient country had not only given message of peace and harmony to the world, to the humanity, enlightened persons have given a method, a technique, how to have peace, how to have harmony. To me, to think of peace in the human society, we cannot ignore individuals. If there is no peace in the mind of the individual, I can't understand how can there be real peace in the human world.
So that gives you a little taste of Mr. Goenka, my teacher. He was an extraordinarily inspirational, wonderful guide, wonderful teacher. And all the way through this presentation, I will be using slides of his quotes. And rather than just say every time, this is Mr. Goenka, they're all his. So I thought you should get a little taste of what he was like as a person to start with. So as he makes this point, Vipassana has nothing to do with any religion at all. It's a pure mental training. It's an art of living, if you like. And what better time to talk about it than when we've got this horrible pandemic on, all been locked down, all under these terrible restrictions and deprived of all our usual supports, all our usual distractions, all the things that make life apparently bearable. And as he pointed out, Vipassana is a mental training to convert people from misery to happiness, basically, to provide peace and harmony, a sure mental training. And what we want to do in this talk is understand how it works so that you can understand that and make your own decisions about whether you'd like to practice it in future or not. And I've talked about all these lockdown restrictions, or it's been so much about that, but actually the real lockdown, the real restrictions are the mental restrictions which we impose on ourselves by our own bad mental habits. And Vipassana deals with those, enables us to deal with them. And we'll talk now about how it does that. So let's first look at the problem. Now, obviously, there are many major miseries, if you like, or sufferings in life. Obviously, the big things like disease, death, all those kinds of things are there and very, very prominent right now. And the usual life crises, maybe marital problems, family problems, financial disasters, all those kinds of things happen. But even at a very surface, superficial level, how often do you go through a day when nothing unwanted happens? Everyone's nice to you. There's no problems. You can catch the train, the car on time. There's no traffic jams. There's no family issues, etc., etc. Doesn't happen. So unwanted things keep happening. This is, of course, Mr. Goenka talking here. And the problem is not that those things happen. Of course they happen to everybody, but that we react. Every time something unwanted happens, we react, we get angry, upset. And when you've got some kind of pandemic like this, it's a real breeding ground. It's a real petri dish for all these mental problems: anger, anxiety, fear, hatred. And they all keep building up tension inside. It's like we're in a constant feedback loop. You get the stimulus of some kind, something unwanted, and then you react. And by reacting, you make it worse, and you develop this habit pattern, and you get this habit pattern of reacting. But even when things go flowingly, even when you get everything you want, and we want material comforts, we want to have a good reputation, or everything to go nicely, and when everything does, and we've got all these things, then we start worrying about how to keep them. Oh, will I be able to keep my wealth? Will I lose my money? Will this happen? Will that happen? And anxiety starts. So even if it's wanted, you still get problems. And all these knots build up. You build tension, you start generating negativities, all these kinds of negativities, and you're building knots inside. So obviously, major problem. And how do you deal with it? How do you stop those bad mental habits? And wise people of the past have obviously investigated this, come up with various remedies. Let's look at those remedies. So one remedy is expression. You've got a problem, you're feeling bad, you express it in some way. An obvious example is anger. Someone says something to you, you don't like it, and you lash out. And as Mr. Goenka points out below, you perform any action at the physical or vocal level which hurts or harms others, the first thing you do is you disturb yourself, you upset yourself. It's like they gave you a present and you give them a bigger present back. You've hurt someone else, you've hurt yourself, and you're developing a bad habit. So obviously expression is not a good way to go. Slightly better is what you might call suppression. All right, you've been upset. Maybe you're very fearful, very anxious. Oh, am I going to get sick with this COVID? Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? And you try and forget it. You try and suppress that bad feeling inside. Maybe you go out and have a party, go to a show, have a few drinks, go down to the pub, meet your friends. Any of these things, and they work temporarily. Go to the movies, even just turn on the TV. It distracts you for a while. You avoid the problem. But inside, the bad feeling, the volcano, is still there and it's going to stay there. You haven't actually done anything about it. So next time you get the bad stimulus, it's going to happen again. Another form of suppression, very common today in this generation, is chemical suppression. You go to the doctor, he prescribes a pill, Valium, something to help you sleep, something to stop the anxiety. And again, you haven't actually dealt with the problem, you've just suppressed it. You're still carrying the volcano, you're still carrying the bad feeling. And what's more, you will probably start developing a dependence on that chemical suppression, whatever it might be. And in the end, you need to take more and more pills just to maintain the status quo. So again, it's short-term solution, but not a long one. Diversion, another one. And most meditation techniques are based on this diversion. For instance, you might work with a mantra, or you start visualizing a light, or maybe some saintly person or a god, and you just create that image again and again in your mind, or you repeat the mantra again and again. You've diverted your attention to the problem. You can get quite concentrated, quite blissful, but actually the problem hasn't gone away. It's still there inside, and sooner or later you have to face it. And this is what wise people said. They said, somehow you've got to face it. You've got to deal with it. You've got to observe it. Now, how to observe it? Supposing you're feeling maybe very anxious, and you say, all right, I'll sit down. I'll observe my anxiety. Now, what would you do when you observe it? The first thing that will happen is all the things that made you anxious will come in your mind. Oh, maybe this will happen. Maybe I'll get sick. Maybe I'll lose my money. Maybe so-and-so will do this to me. Whatever it is, the thoughts will come, and it is very, very difficult to observe thoughts as thoughts. But there is a remedy, and it's this. When you face the problem, I talked about this feedback loop, stimulus, reaction, stimulus, reaction. Between the stimulus and your mental reaction, or worse, vocal or physical reaction, is this connection with mind and matter. Something happens in the body, and it happens at two levels. The first one is your breath. Your breath loses its normality when some impurity, some reaction starts in the mind. Totally close connection. It becomes a little fast, it becomes a little hard. Let's take the case of anxiety. At a very subtle level, you may not notice it so much, but your breath will become a little fast or hard if you start getting anxious. If it gets to the level of a panic attack, it's so obvious, you're hyperventilating. That's at a very gross level. And at a subtle level, there is a reaction in the body, a biochemical reaction, an electromagnetic reaction. The sensations in your body start changing, and you can feel that. And it's very difficult to observe thoughts as thoughts, but it is perfectly possible to observe the breath and the sensations. And that's actually how Vipassana works. Now, Vipassana is taught in 10-day courses. Vipassana is observing the mind and the body. It's actually observing the reality. Most other techniques don't observe reality. They observe something created, your mantra, which you've created in your mind, or an image or something like that. Vipassana is actually examining the reality of your entire being, how mind and matter interact. and it's taught in 10-day courses. So let's talk about what happens on a 10-day Vipassana course. Now, first question, why 10 days? Why residential? Couldn't you just put out a video or a book or something and say you do this and you practice like this? Very easy. But it's like learning to swim. You could watch a video on swimming and you kick your legs like this and you move your arms like this. It doesn't actually teach you how to swim. You have to get in the water, and maybe even rough water, and learn how to swim in that water. And similarly, with Vipassana, you need to practice the technique, learn it, of course, get the instructions, but actually practice it. And how long for? In the old days, they used to teach it for a month or more, and they reckon that was a real practice. And they reduced it. After all, this is a fast modern age. Got down to 10 days. Yes, people getting benefit. Tried a week? No, doesn't work. So 10 days was fixed as the minimum time in which you get real benefit and in which you come out learning how to swim, learning how to do the technique, and you're independent. You're on your own. Of course, you can come back for more courses if you want, but you're not dependent on any guru, nothing like that. You're self-dependent and you've got the technique. So 10 days minimum. And the next thing you do is you practice noble silence. You take a vow at the beginning of your course. Of course, you can talk to the teacher as much as you want. That's fine. They're there to teach you. But among the students, total silence. You don't talk to each other, no glances, no gestures, no notes, nothing. You're just inside with yourself. And again, why? Because you can't go deep inside unless you've got that verbal silence, which gives you that mental silence and enables you to go deep inside, understand yourself. So that's why the silence. And lastly, you're asked to take at the very beginning of the course a basic moral code. Not that we want to impose anything on you, but because if you break that moral code, you can't do so unless your mind develops some impurity and you'll discover that you create a lot of agitation inside. And when you do that, you can't meditate properly. So what's the code? You just say that for 10 days, you agree, I won't kill anything, I won't steal anything, I won't tell any lies, I won't have any sexual misconduct, which in the context of a course means for those 10 days, you're in celibacy, and you won't take any drugs or intoxicants. So that's the basic moral code, the precepts, which enable you to go deep without agitating your own mind. So that's the preliminaries on the first day, the first evening. And then you get into the course proper. And the first thing you start observing is this breath, your own breath. And what you're doing is you're working in a small area just around the nostrils. And it's natural breath. You don't try and control it. If it's deep, it's a deep breath, it's deep. If it's shallow, it's shallow. So you're doing the simplest thing in the world to do and the hardest thing in the world to do, which is nothing. You're just observing it without reacting to it at all. And Mr. Goenka gives the example of a person sitting on the bank of a river. If the river is flowing swiftly, it's turbulent, it's fast, he's just witnessing that, he's just observing it. And if the flow of the river is very slow, quiet, calm, lazy river, again, he's just observing it, he doesn't interfere in any way. And that's what you're doing with the breath. And you'll discover very quickly that the breath is very closely connected with your mind. As you sit there, maybe the breath is very calm, you're quite concentrated, and then suddenly something will come in the mind, maybe some old memory. Oh, this person did that to me. That person did this to me, said that. And you get upset and you get angry with that person, that memory. And you'll discover, oh, my breath has changed. Or maybe you're sitting there and some fear comes up. And again, you'll suddenly see, oh, my breath has changed. It's become harder. It's become faster. It's lost its natural rhythm. And again, you can't do anything except just observe. And what you'll discover as you just observe is that the storm passes. Sooner or later, the anger, the fear, the anxiety, whatever it is, it passes away. The breath reverts to its normal pattern, its calm, quiet pattern. And you've started to break that habit of reacting to the anger, to the fear, to the anxiety, whatever it is. And this process goes on for the first 3 days. As you keep doing this, you'll find the reactions get less and less. Your mind gets sharper and sharper, more and more concentrated. And now you're ready to do Vipassana. And Vipassana, of course, is the main technique. You start doing that on day 4. And up to now, you've been on one small area of your body, but Vipassana is totally different. It's a dynamic meditation. Sensations are all the way through the body. You're working with your sensations. You start from the top of the head, you move right down to the toes, and you observe everything in your whole body, every sensation, everywhere. You're observing that, and you're taught how to do that during the course. And the sensations, they're physical sensations, they can be anything. Here's some examples are given: heat, cold, dryness, throbbing, pulsing, itching, tickling. It can be anything. Quite often, it'll be something which you can't name or label, can't give a name to it. Doesn't matter. That's not important. All that matters is you feel it. It's real. You're just observing it. And you try not to react. You try just to observe those sensations. So there's no stationary object. You keep moving through. And you're trying to change this whole behavior pattern of not reacting. And this is what you'll discover. That actually you're reacting all the time. Same in your meditation, same in everyday life. Everyday life, something unwanted happened, you reacted. Something wanted happened, you reacted. Same now. Working through the body, and maybe you come across some very, very pleasant sensation. A pleasant tingling through the body, a flow of energy, and you're feeling terrific. And then what happens? You start reacting. Oh, this is so wonderful. Now my meditation is so good. I must hold on to this. I must keep more of this. You're craving. You're clinging to it. Or something unpleasant happens. You're going through the body and suddenly there's a pain in your knee and you start hating it. I don't like this. When can I stop doing this? I wish I could get rid of this. And you're reacting again. So now the whole training is to stop this process. And it's all this oscillation, depending on your sensations, between clinging, craving, and aversion, hatred. And you're oscillating all the time. And now the whole aim of the technique is to stop you doing that, to practice not doing that. And the reason is that every other defilement in your mind, every other reaction, fear, passion, anger, hatred, anxiety, whatever it is, they're all the product of these two, craving and aversion, in relation to the sensations on your body. So this is the process of Vipassana. You're observing your sensations, physical sensations, but you're realizing, just like the breath was connected with the mind, how closely those sensations are connected with the mind. Remember I talked about when you reacted in daily life, there was some biochemical reaction in the body, some sensation in the body. That's now what you're working with. And you're seeing that every time anything comes in the mind while you're meditating, immediately there is a change in the sensations in your body, pleasant or unpleasant. But the key to not reacting to them is to understand that they're changing. Now your mind, because you've practiced so long, is concentrated. You can feel all these sensations. That's the awareness. And the equanimity, the detachment you develop towards them, is because you're understanding. And initially this understanding is quite theoretical, but as you keep practicing, it becomes a practical, a real understanding that they do change and you don't have to do anything about it. For instance, you're sitting there with that pain in your knee, you don't like it. Now, of course, you can shift your posture and do something and work in another way, or you can say, well, I'll just try and watch this for a little while. And you suddenly discover, oh, it went. In and suddenly the whole thing was replaced by a flow of vibration all through your body. And that's a very powerful realization when you can understand these things at the actual level going on in your own meditation. And that helps you develop detachment. And the more you're detached, the faster they change. And the more you understand their changing nature, the more you get detached. It's a process, it's a journey which you go through, and a very strong, very powerful journey. And as you go through that journey, you'll find as you go through the course, this is from day 4 right through to day 9 of the course, you're working in the body all in different ways as you're taught. Sensations start becoming lighter, lighter. These flows of energy start getting a bit more. Pain start going away. And your mental reactions start getting less and less. You're actually cutting away at all those old impurities inside. The mental habits, the restrictions, the lockdowns which keep you and everybody else so miserable. So that's the process. And you'll reach a stage sooner or later where the whole structure is vibrations. And you understand this whole mind, this whole matter, this body is just vibration, arising, passing, arising, passing. And that's a very powerful stage to reach. So that's until day 9. Now, day 10, the last full day of the course, is a very different day. Now, that's the day when you start talking again. You've been silent for 9 days, and we think it's important, as at least for one day, you start talking to everybody again, just to help you come out of that intensity so that you can face the world outside easily again. Before you start, you practice a totally new technique. We call it metta, old Indian word. It means loving kindness. So whatever benefits you've got from your course, your work on the course, and there'll be enormous benefits, you share them with everybody. It can be with the whole world, with your family, your friends, can even be with your enemies. That can be very helpful sometimes. And you're just sharing mentally whatever you've gained. And when you've practiced Vipassana, as you've been doing, that sharing becomes quite powerful. For instance, in daily life, you've got a neighbor, you chat to your neighbor and you say, oh, how are you doing? You're going all right these days. And inside you're thinking, God, you're so difficult. I wish you'd go to hell. Doesn't work. But when you've practiced Vipassana, when you've actually got rid of all that kind of stuff, or a lot of it, that sharing becomes real, and it has a real effect on you and on your neighbor. So that's the metta, and then there's the talking, UN Noble Silence. And I should mention the principle we run on of donations. We never charge for any course, nothing. If a student wants to take a course and go away without paying anything at the end, up to them. That's their decision. Because Vipassana is too valuable to charge for. It would be absurd to charge for it. So at the end of your course, if you want to, you can make a donation, but it's only for future courses. It's not for your course. You're not paying your hotel bills. Someone else has paid for that. And we find it works because Vipassana works. And all our centers around the world, 200 or so of them, are all built on that same principle. So you should understand that. And then last day, you have your breakfast and you're out in the world, back in daily life. And no one is going to give you some big certificate saying Joe Blow or Jane Smith sat a Vipassana course and achieved this level or that level. Nothing like that. You don't get any certificate. The certificate that you get is what you give yourselves. You will go home and you'll say, all right, well, I worked for 10 days and I did this and I did that and I practiced like this. Now, what benefit have I got? And the benefits, to quote my teacher's teacher, should be good, concrete, vivid, personal, and here and now. In other words, you judge, and what's the benefit? The benefit is non-reaction. So something happens, and just because you've done a course, there's no guarantee that the same old stuff which was happening to you before will be happening to you again. But are you reacting to it in the same way? Someone says something, you don't like it. Are you as angry as you used to be? Or something happens to make you anxious, to make you frightened? Are you as anxious and as frightened as you used to be? Now you've got a very powerful tool to deal with all those things. You've got your sensations. And you don't have to sit down cross-legged and observe them. You can observe those anytime, any place. They're always there. And the more you train your mind, the more it just goes quickly to the sensations, cuts off the reaction, and you're happy. You're out of it. And that's the tool you've taken away with you. You've taken this valuable tool of practice. And it is so powerful. Sometimes people come and they're addicted to something or the other. Drugs, alcohol, whatever it is. Actually, they're not addicted to alcohol. They're not addicted to drugs. They're addicted to the sensation they get when they take the alcohol or the drugs. In Vipassana, you can observe that sensation. If you can observe it successfully, you're out of the addiction. And that has been a very powerful result for many people over a long period of time. So it has that power. And as Mr. Goenka pointed out, there is no conversion there. You're not getting converted into some religion or some cult or some sect. You walk away totally free. If you never want to contact the center again, you don't have to, it doesn't matter. No one's going to come running after you. And then finally, sometimes someone says, well, that's all very well, sounds good, sounds logical, but how selfish? What are you doing about society? You're just going there and you're observing a navel, so what? Well, the answer is really that quote, which I showed below from Mr. Goenka, and he talked about it in that UN address, saying Vipassana deals with the individuals. As he points out, unless the individuals are peaceful, unless they're harmonious, you won't get harmony, you won't get peace in society, whatever the framework around it is. An example, if you like, is a forest. Now, in Australia, you know very well, we have many droughts, bushfires, all that. Sometimes the forest is very dry, desiccated, the leaves are falling off the trees are dying. It's a horrible sight. If you want to green that forest, you have to water every single tree in that forest. It's the only way to do it. Similarly, in society, if society is like that, and you want a green society, you have to water every single tree. That is, you have to practice with every single individual, and then you will get a peaceful, harmonious society. So this is the invitation to you to come and see, to try Vipassana, see it for yourselves. It's so simple, it's so straightforward. You're just working with the reality inside. Come and try it. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much, Patrick. And I would just like to see if anybody has any questions. And if you have questions, if you could just type them into the chat, and Patrick will be able to answer them. Is there anything that you would like to know about Vipassana? Actually, Patrick, I was thinking, this idea of silence for 10 days.
Yes.
That sounds tough.
That's the easy part.
Really? I'm surprised.
Oh, yeah. You get people who come along and, especially people who've never taken a course before, and they say, oh, I'm such a chatterbox. I'm always talking. I can't imagine how you do it.
Yeah.
And when you've got the old students who come back, they can't imagine how you do it. It becomes very easy, very quickly. That's not usually an issue at all.
Oh,
because
right.
if you want to deal with your stuff inside, you have to be silent.
Yeah. Okay. But 10 days, does the 10 days seem to go fast, or are they drawn out? Does it seem like a long time?
Sometimes it seems like forever. Other times it seems like a flash. It all depends on what's going on inside.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, not talking for, what feels like a long time.
That's so important, because if you're dealing with your stuff inside at the depth, you need the space to deal with that. And if you say, go in. Otherwise, supposing there wasn't silence and you've just had a deep meditation, you go into lunch and someone's next to you and they say, "Oh, what happened to you this morning? How did you go?" It doesn't work. You just get chattering all the time.
Yeah, you lose your focus.
Yeah. One question I just saw in the chat box, Amanda, was, are we running courses? Yes, I'm delighted to say that now that the lockdown's being lifted, we're starting again on Tuesday.
Okay, great.
Mm.
Great. And I'll just say in regards to the courses, I'm going to follow this talk up with a survey and an email. And so I will put all the details about the Vipassana Meditation Center in an email to everybody. So you can just get all of that information about when the courses are on and where the center is. Yeah, and we have another comment here. Not talking for what seems like a long time. I should send my wife to do one of those courses.
Well, I think if you're reacting to your wife, maybe you should come on a course first. And then bring your wife on a course.
Interesting. And I thought that I might just share this with people because recently Vipassana came up in my readings. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that writer. His name's Yuval Noah Harari, and he's an Israeli historian and a writer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like he writes great, fantastic books. And
he does. Yes.
After I'd finished reading his book and I was really impressed, I just looked through the acknowledgements page, and he wrote that, well, this isn't the exact quote, but it's something in lines like, I would not have been able to have written this book if it wasn't for Vipassana meditation. And so I thought, wow, so does Vipassana help like sharpen the mind? Because Harari's book, like his work and thinking and his how he communicates, seems very, very sharp from a very disciplined mind that's able to like take in lots of information and then communicate it with such ease.
Well, he's a very sharp character himself,
Yeah.
But he always says that he goes away and he does actually a long course every year, longer than 10 days. And that's the time when all the ideas ferment. Of course, he's doing Vipassana. And initially, when he started writing, he didn't admit to being a Vipassana meditator at all. He was, of course, and he's actually a Vipassana teacher. He conducts courses himself in Vipassana. But yes, I think, and he would certainly say that a lot of that sharpness, that understanding comes from his practice of Vipassana.
Yeah, wow.
Yes, I met him once and I got the impression of, he was very quiet and you just got the impression of someone highly intelligent who's just listening.
Yeah. Okay, so it's good to know that this is good for sharpening the mind. Also, Patrick, I have another question here. Just about the cost involved. Did you want to? Somebody missed the beginning of the talk, and they just want to know about costs.
Cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The cost is enormous. 10 days of your life.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's none. You have to give up 10 days to do it.
But there are the donations.
Yep, donations at the end. It's whatever people want. There's no sign saying, oh, you must give so and such. It's not like that. Mm-hmm. It's exactly what people want. And we always say that what matters is your volition. Some person who's very poor might give $10. And for them, that might be a very big donation. And someone who's a millionaire might give thousands. And for them, it's nothing. What matters is your volition. Mm-hmm. You're wanting to help other people get the technique.
Okay, the next question is, could you describe a typical day or a schedule for the days in the course?
Well, I don't want to frighten you. So you get up at 4 a.m. and you have half an hour to brush your teeth, and then you meditate from 4:30 to 6:30, and then you have the breakfast break, 6:30 to 8, and then you can obviously have your breakfast, you wash, you go for a walk if you want to, all those things. Then from 8 to 11, you meditate. And of course, when I say 8 to 11, it doesn't mean it's unbroken 3 hours. You know, it's all broken up. And you're meeting with the teacher quite often, things like that. And then lunch is 11 to 1. You have lunch, you can rest, you can go to bed if you want to after lunch, all that. Go for a walk. Afternoons 1 to 5, tea 5 to 6. And again, the afternoon is completely broken up into different sessions and so forth. And then in the evening, you do another meditation, and then you get a discourse every evening. And Mr. Goenka's discourses are super. They're just wonderful. And often people say, oh, he seems to know exactly where I am in my meditation each night.
And Patrick, another question is, do you teach the courses? Are you the teacher there?
Yes, of course I am one of them. Like if you take the center in the Blue Mountains at Blackheath, we have many teachers there. I'm one of the teachers who teach there. But when I say we teach, really the teacher is Mr. Goenka, because we listen to his recorded discourses every night, and all the instructions, we made instructions, they're recorded instructions which we play. They're just wonderful. They're very complete in themselves. But we teach in the sense that if anybody has additional questions, of course, they can come and meet us, get something clarified. We're always available for that. And that's our job. And that's to work with the students, see how they're going, make sure they're going okay, look after them, and answer any questions they've got. So we're supplementing you, basically.
Okay. Oh, and we have a really nice comment from Danielle saying, thank you for a wonderful presentation. I hope to see you in the mountains for a course in the near future. Thank you for your nice comment, Danielle. That is really
Looking
nice.
forward to it.
Yes. Okay. If we don't have any more questions, as I said, I will send an email and it will have all of the practical information on the email. I'd just like to thank Patrick very much for this presentation, because it's quite enlightening as well. And I would like to thank everybody for coming in, and I hope this course, this presentation is making you think. And I just want to finish on 2 quotes that your teacher, the Goenka, said. I really like these quotes, but when he said that the Vipassana is a conversion from misery to happiness and from bondage to liberation. So I'll just leave you to reflect on those quotes. So have a good afternoon, everybody.